Let's break the mold and stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. Welcome to Stanley on 7. We're here until it's here.
And welcome back. This is Stanley on 7th, your favorite Wild podcast. I'm Ryan Carter. I've got John King with me here, a Pull Tab Sports production. Listen, we got a great show here today. We got a fantastic guest. We're going to preview the series between Minnesota and the St. Louis Blues. We're going to wrap up some of the first 82 games of the regular season, how fantastic it was for the Wild. And then we're going to get into some hot topics going into the playoffs as well. So, Kinger, the Wild closed it out last night. A great game against Colorado. They didn't ice any of their superstars. McKinnon, Landeskog didn't play. Makar wasn't in the house. Bo Byram. There's a couple other guys. Still a very competitive team. But the Wild came out. They made a statement right off the bat. Got out to a 2-0 lead. Kirill, Kaprizov circling the wagons, able to set up Jost for what would be the game-winning goal. But then, the dark cloud came over the XL Energy Center. Marcus Foligno got hurt. But before we get into that, the regular season, let's recap that a little bit. Your thoughts, highlights. What do you love about it? What did you dislike, if anything, about it?
It was the most enjoyable season of Wild hockey ever. The teammates model, the fact that Evanston built this culture, Billy G put his balls in a wheelbarrow and made some tough decisions. It was just a joy. They were special, and a real superstar as well.
Yeah, for me, it's been impressive how I think almost to a man, aside from Kirill, because he makes the big bucks, but they played above their pay grade, and you can go right down the line. Eriksson Ek got the extension, but 26 goals, 12 on the power play, career high in goals, assists, points. You name it there. Kevin Fiala, 33 goals. He hadn't touched 30 before that, 85 points. That alone beat Marian Gabourik's previous franchise record of 83. So they've got two guys above that. Ryan Hartman, 15 goals over his previous high, 34 goals. I think he had 21 one year in Chicago. He had an outstanding year. Dean Evason, the way that he could find talents and skill sets in other places that I think coaches would just say, no, this guy's a fourth line guy. I'm not going to even give him a sniff on the first line, or the first time that it doesn't work, that, they would move them off that line. That wasn't the case. And then how about Freddie Gaudreau? Dean Evason from day one has said, hey, this guy's a solid player. He's good. You're going to like him. Just trust me. He can play in all spots. He's got a good stick. And then by the end of the year, I think it took a little while for him, but by the end of the year, he was everything as advertised. Dean Evason hit that one out of the park, and that's got to feel good for him. I think it does feel good for him to go out and get a guy that had played in the East Coast League, for him in the minors, an older guy, 28 years old, kind of a journeyman NHL guy, hadn't had more than a cup of coffee in the NHL, give him a 2-year deal out of free agency and say, hey, this guy can play in this spot. And then for him to deliver the way he did, boy, that gives Dean Evason a lot of street cred. But I was actually broadcasting the game between the benches, Calgary, Minnesota, and I was looking over my right shoulder, and there's Daryl Sutter. He's got first time in his career 50 wins. He's got multiple cups, right? But first time he's ever been able to coach a team in the regular season of 50 wins. I look over my other shoulder, it's Dean Evason. He's got like a 675 win percentage. He's got well over 50 wins just his second year behind the bench. So, Dean's legit behind the bench, and they've built the culture as you talked about. I think it starts with Billy putting his package in the wheelbarrow, and then I don't know if Dean Evason wheels it around or what he does, but those two work together, and they've put a pretty product on the ice.
And I think it was a joyful season. A lot of people would say maybe hope because of Kirill or whatever. I just thought it was joyful. The comebacks, the fun, Zuki dancing in the locker room, all the fans watching warm-ups. They used to say when Tiger Woods would golf, what did Jack Nicklaus say? He plays a game I'm not familiar with. This is a Wild team that it has nothing to do with the previous iteration of this team. It was special. It was joyful. It was fun. And now I just want it to all be worth it.
Yeah, worth something. And what would worth it be for you?
Well, I'm so twisted up now with the sports psychologist. Let's do this, Ryan. Let's focus on destroying St. Louis, and after that, we'll recalibrate and set maybe another process goal.
There you go. Well, you're learning, and let's see if it works. You've got the process down now. Now let's see if we can practice it and if it pays dividends in the end. But Bill Guerin has said that, hey, it's okay to talk about you want to win the cup. There is a process to it, but it's okay to say it. You want him to win the cup.
I absolutely want him to win the cup. I can't even. I think I would set maybe a police car on fire. I don't know if people still do that. Maybe that's not a good idea. I don't know that I would tie our sponsors into that, but I would definitely get excited if we won the Stanley Cup. Maybe climb a lamp, like a street lamp, maybe climb up there for some reason. I don't know why.
Just because.
What would you do?
Just because. I don't know. I feel like I'd walk off like we did it first year. That's it.
Just never record again. It'd be so cool.
Just wash the hands and walk away. We did it. Right? That'd be fantastic. But no, I mean, let's go over some of the great things that the club did. I talked a little bit about the individual things that they were able to accomplish and how players are playing above their pay grade. You could go to the back end too and some of these defensemen and how great they've been, even from the guys they picked up at the deadline. Middleton, I mean, he came here to be a big, heavy guy to clear people out in front of the net. And he's been fantastic breaking the puck out, moving it. He's jumping up in the play. Everybody just seems to have the ability and the freedom to go play, have fun, and be the best they can be. But I think some of that comes because these guys are having a lot of fun. 9 games they've been able to come back, multiple goals down, get points out of wins. You flip that around. If they just lose those games, 18 points, the Wild all of a sudden go from their best year ever to, a wild card kind of season, right? So it's been exciting. It's been exciting at the XL Energy Center because of that. I think the fans are into it, the energy. The roof was blown off the place last night against Colorado. Fans were giving a standing ovation at the end of the night. You touched on warm-ups where I think it started guys where they're 1 row deep, pounding on the glass, maybe saying hi in warm-ups, can I get a puck to now? They are there early, and there's 5 rows deep, and the culture inside the building is growing. Every player to a man says it feels like a family in here. They all protect each other like it's a family. Even post-game presser last night, Matt Dumba asked about Foligno, and I think he knows something, and he just simply says, no. We're not talking about that. And I think that maybe that's a good segue right now, though. So the Wild work hard. The great year. St. Louis loses. The Wild end up winning their game, so it didn't matter what happened in the St. Louis game. The Wild were going to get home ice no matter what. They end up securing home ice. And some of the advantage to home ice is the energy, the excitement. The state of hockey is behind this club 100%. It's going to make it a hard place to play. But tactically, the Wild are probably the hardest team, I think, in the NHL to match with on home ice because they have the grief line. They got scored on the other night, Calgary. That was a tough game, and I think some of them were a little rusty. They didn't quite have their mojo fully back, so they got all the way up to their 5th even strength goal scored on them for the year. Yeah, that's 5, by far the fewest of any line that has played significant minutes. But like I said, the gray cloud that came over XL Energy Center last night was Marcus Foligno. McDermott took a little run at him, went to pinch. He was playing D, and he caught him knee to knee. Marcus looked like he was in a lot of pain on the ice. He left. He didn't return. What are you seeing on the Twitter sphere when it comes to that, Kinger?
It's very concerning. It's funny. I'm on the road at a junior hockey thing, and I searched Twitter for Foligno injury, and I found a clip of him. He just ran into a guy. I didn't realize it was in the Flyers game, like in March. So I thought he was fine, but I was looking at the wrong clip. That line has proven it's like we said, 1 + 1 + 1 = 100.
Right.
And when they're missing a guy, it doesn't seem to quite work. So I don't know. I hope he's okay. I'm still kind of holding out for like some sort of horse pills or like cortisone shots. I don't even know what that is. I think my grandpa used to get that like 50 years ago. I don't know what. I hope he's like okay. And if he's not, I'm going to have to go to that sports psychologist again, I think.
And just work through some of this stuff here.
Do you think we just add a guy with the right letter, like put Duhaime on that line and be the greed line? Or like, should that play into it?
Like, even though Goligoski's a defenseman, just put him there because he's 47.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We need something. I kind of like the greed line with Duhaime.
Well, I think it's going to be. Let's go through that perspective lines. So they're hoping Zuccarello's back, so the top line's going to be intact. The BFF line, Boldy, Fiala, and Boldy, Fiala, Gaudreau.
Ready.
That line going to be intact. The Grief line. Now, okay, so this is what I saw and know about Marcus is I think it was better than what people thought. It wasn't an instant, and it looked like ACL tear, knee hyperextended the wrong way. It looked like it could be bad. I don't think that they, in the physical tests, and now this is just pure speculation, but in the physical test that it was clearly that, because there's still hope, and I heard more this morning, and we're recording on Saturday morning, that there's a chance that he could practice tomorrow, or that they're hoping he can turn around and it's a quick recovery. So it's not instant ACL season over. I think that means that there's a chance that he's pretty banged up and he's still not feeling great, but at least it's a positive that it's not, hey, this is it, it's over. So getting him back would be huge. If they don't get him back, I think that they play somebody like Delorier there. I think they keep that fourth line with Joe Duhaime and maybe Bukestad on the right side there, and then they reserve the right to move Bukestad and Delorier up on the wings if they want a right-handed guy there. Maybe Bukestad's still a big guy; he can play that role a little bit there. But that's kind of what I'm looking for on the front end. I think that's likely what's going to happen. But fingers crossed, Marcus Foligno can play, and there's just even the prospect of him being able to practice tomorrow is a huge positive.
Yeah, I hope he's okay. What are you hearing about Zuki?
Well, I think Zuki. So what Dean Evison had tried to say about the defensemen and Matt Dumba, Jared Spurgeon, was that he wanted them to get into a game before the regular season ended, to knock off some of that rust, to get their timing, to get a bump in, to see how it feels, to get confidence in that. Coming back from injury sometimes, like, it's on your mind, and you got to get yourself in those situations and feel a hit to know like what's coming, and to know that you're going to be okay and you can put the injury to rest a little bit. And I think that's what Evison was looking for. The first game and then the first series of the playoffs always seems to be the most intense, the hardest hitting, and the fastest. Everybody's so amped up. And I expect the first 20 minutes to just be, a check fest out there Monday night, everybody running around. So to have these guys to get a feel for it and to be confident and comfortable in their bodies, I think that's okay. Now, going back to Zuccarello, I don't think he's one of those guys that needs to physically feel what's going on. He's not engaged in the game in that way. He doesn't get hit a lot. He does not hit a lot. No, I think his issue is lower body too. So less of a concern for them in terms of shoulders and getting a feel on it. But I think it all comes down to making sure that he was ready to go. They got an extra couple of days, so that limits the setback even further. But I anticipate him being ready to go. And I reflect on it. Zuccarello's been out with some soft tissue injuries on the lower body earlier this year too, and even last year some. And when he skated with Andy Ness, he's gotten the wheels going and he's come out and been on fire, like flying, like the best skating that he's had in a while. So I'm actually excited to see him come out of this because I think there's a chance that he's noticeably quicker and moving his feet more.
I'm going to go. I think Foligno's going to be fine. I'm just shifting. I'm getting into a playoff mentality. I just think if it was really bad, we would have already heard. He's going to be fine. He's going to be there Monday night, and it's going to be a big deal that he is there.
So I think there is a chance that he plays. I still think there's a chance that the hit hurt though too, and that he's not going to be 100%. And then in comes the question: what's better, to have a guy at 100% playing there, or Marcus at whatever percentage he's at? And that one I don't have an answer to, but I do believe that there is a chance, and now we're forecasting into the future, but Colorado, the team that took a run at Marcus, hurt him, could potentially be the matchup in the second round. So if the Wild are able to get through the first round, through St. Louis, and then they face off against Colorado, and if it isn't as bad of an injury for Marcus as it looked last night, where it could be a week or two or even less, and they get Marcus back for that, boy, I think that gives them a leg up emotionally and kind of like a, hey, you guys are going to get it mentality towards Colorado. So I'm already super excited. I don't want to look past. I'm trying to stay in Allie's lane here and say, all right, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But I do think that what occurred last night could eventually be a positive and a catalyst for momentum and probably some 7th Street savage against Colorado.
Well, if we get through the first round here, I think we need to start buying some Google AdWords for orbital bone, and we'll put ads for Stanley on 7th on that, because I think 56 is going to have the fists of steel. Marcus is like the Thing in that Marvel comic. I mean, he's going to smash that guy's face in. Although I think Colorado is going to have a lot of trouble with Nashville. I mean, Nashville is going to do all the stuff we want to do to them. Might already be done by the time they get to the second round.
Right.
Those are some scum bags in Nashville. I was hoping for Nashville-Calgary, but something must have shook loose the last couple days. So, I mean, Nathan McKinnon sleeping with one eye open right now, because that Nashville team, careful what you wish for.
I don't disagree with you. Nashville, now it's crazy how many teams are fighting this right now, but the goaltender situation, Nashville and Saros, he's out. He's hurt. I think they're hopeful that he can come back, but he had played, I think, the second most games in the NHL to the point at which he got hurt. So he's their workhorse, the guy they want in net. They might be without him. Riddick, I don't think he's any good. So if they've got to rely on him for 7 straight games, I don't think Nashville has a chance against Colorado. But let's pivot to the Minnesota net. You've got Marc-Andre Fleury and Cam Talbot. So Fleury had let in a couple of soft goals, and he even lost to Arizona. And the narrative was, oh my gosh, from the deadline, we've got Marc-Andre Fleury. It was a shot in the arm, energized the club. Everybody's feeling good about it. I think there are guys that thought when they got him too that was like a message from Billy that we're all in. Like, I'm giving you everything you need. Here's your cup cred. Here's our star in the cage. Let's go get it. And guys felt that. To now all of a sudden he didn't play great hockey, and Cam Talbot had quietly been the better of the two goaltenders. And Marc-Andre Fleury gets 3 starts in a row. Cam Talbot comes in against Calgary, great team, and he fires a bullet. He's quiet in the net. He does his job, and he plays exactly the way he needs to play on home ice. Stopped the ones he should, battled for the guys, was able to slow the game down, gave up 2. The Wild ultimately won it in overtime. So now the ball's in Marc-Andre's court, and Colorado comes in the following night, and he plays well. He let a squeaker in. The lone goal he let in last night was a squeaker, and one that I know he'd love to have back. It was a 3-on-2. Kadri's a good player, but it got through his body. Goalies hate that. But I think he played well enough to where there's still the debate, like, okay, who the heck are the Wild going to play in net to start in game 1? And what do you think is going to go on there?
Well, you get to see a lot of stuff. You get to see what Billy wants to do. You get to see what Dean decides. It's funny. I'm on the road, and my camera guy's a goalie, and he's a Wild fan. I asked him what he would do. And he had the answer that no one seems to acknowledge as a possibility. He said, just keep rotating them the way you have been. This team has done it different all year, whether it's faceoffs or centers or whatever we're supposed to sign up for in the NHL. We've had our own rules. And by all accounts, Fleury sounds like such a good dude that you can probably do that. So I don't know. I'm kind of into that. It will show you something. I kind of feel like Dean would start Talbot and Billy would start Flower, but that's all just like stuff in my own head. I don't know if that's right, but I don't hate rotating. What do you think? Teammates. That's our deal.
I don't necessarily hate rotating either. I just don't think that it's realistic. Let's say Marc-Andre Fleury goes out, or even Cam Talbot, game 1, fires an absolute bullet, pitches a shutout, and stands on his head. You going to rotate? I think if you're going into the playoffs and you're rotating, the goaltenders likely know it, because whoever you give game 1, you go to the other guy and you say, no matter what happens, I'm giving you game 2, just so you know, stay in it. This isn't, I'm not stabbing you in the back, but this is what we're doing. So you got a guy that's playing lights out, and you're just going to pull him and put the other guy in. There's just too much on the line to set a schedule as to what's going to go on. I think there's too many variables, too many things that can change, and you end up shooting yourself in the foot if you stick to a plan, or you set a plan and you stick to it. You're not nimble. You don't adjust in the playoffs. That could be your Achilles heel, no question about it. But my gut is that Marc-Andre Fleury gets game 1. And now when I think about that, I think the way Cam Talbot plays hockey or goaltender and plays it at home, he might be the better choice at home. He stops everything that he should. In the Wild, I don't think they're going to need to steal a game at home. They're going to have to compete and play well. Marc-Andre Fleury is the kind of guy that can steal you a game. So he feels like if they were starting on the road, absolutely Marc-Andre Fleury game one, because he can stand on his head, make a few monster saves that no other goaltender can make, and all of a sudden you skate away with 2 points in it, and it's because of Marc-Andre Fleury. Now, he can still have a performance like that at the Xcel Energy Center, but I think the probability of it is higher in terms of Cam Talbot producing a steady game that the Wild can depend on in the net on home ice. It's a tough choice. Bill Guerin said this too. They can't make a bad choice. I believe that to be true probably for game one, but there's a lot riding on it if you keep Marc-Andre Fleury on the bench game one and you find a way to not pull away 2 points.
Well, and I think I'm hearing pretty consistently that Fleury's a playoff guy. He's playoff proven. So it's a bit like Talbot is the 747 pilot that's giving your kids a set of wings as they get on the aircraft. But Flowers flown the jets in real battles. And I think there's something to that. I did think it was telling when we interviewed Janssen, which we'll get to in a minute. I mean, the other teams are more scared of Flower the same way we would be scared of Binnington.
Right.
Because of that big media, big market. That could just be hype. But it is always interesting, who would you rather not see? They would rather not see Flower.
I do think that he can get in your kitchen in that sense for sure. But the other intriguing storyline is that the goaltender situation is not going to be a hot button topic for the Wild and the Wild alone. St. Louis has got some issues in their cage too. Binnington lost his job. Now Husso's the number one, and it's kind of 1A, 1B. I think 1A has been Husso, Binnington 1B, and all of a sudden Husso goes out in a must-win game for home ice at home against the Vegas Golden Knights, who were just eliminated from the playoffs the night before. And what does he do? He gives up 7 goals. Like, you do not want to go into the playoffs with your previous game giving up 7. So who knows what they're going to do there. But intriguing matchup, a lot of storylines. And well, you know what we should do here is let's mix in a read. Hey, the sponsors have been terrific for us, and we're closing the book on the regular season, turning into the second season. We're going to do some more podcasts. We're going to try to be more frequent with it in the playoffs after each game kind of thing, so we can touch base and really stay on top of this. The sponsors have agreed to stick with us. Love that. Thank you. Aquarius Home Services, Andy Hedlund, thehockeyagent.com, Big Wood Brewery. So to those guys, a special thanks. Right now, Aquarius, $55 furnace tune-up. Make sure you give them a call. They'll help you out. I just had mine. Fantastic. They cleaned everything up. If you can't hear, it might be a little stuffy. That's because the allergies in the air. They got my filter dialed. They ordered some more filters for me too. So as things get, as the pollens enter the air and all of that, I'll make sure for the broadcast that I've got squeaky clean pipes and I don't sound all nasally. Hard to do with a big beak like this, but Aquarius Home Services, they're the best. They're earning the right to be recommended. Love them. Big Wood Brewery. John, why don't you do your thing with Big Wood right now? Let's get them all on the line.
Well, it's going to be stressful. Playoffs aren't going to be easy on anybody. The nice thing about Big Wood is you can get a big, tall can. I would probably put your glasses in the freezer. Little frosted mug. Pour it in there. You got a little bit left in the can, for when, and maybe go one Big Wood period. And then if you get into OT situations, hey, all bets are off. But I think Big Wood, it's nice to kind of commit to something, a ritual. And I would encourage you to go to any Minnesota liquor store, look for some Big Wood, some Bad Axe, some Amigo Grande, probably cabin days for playoffs, I think, because we're trying to play deep into the playoffs. So we want to be into that cottage and cabin season. I would get Cabin Days. It's an IPA that has the sun on it a bit. I'm going to actually start shaving my playoff beard here while you're talking, Ryan.
Yeah, you do that so you're going to get a fresh start on this.
Yeah, I think, the season ended yesterday. I think technically this is the day it should be done. I don't like the kind of preload. I mean, I know like Jordy Ben should not shave his beard, but it's different to start with what he has. So I really want my beard to be long here. I got a Comfort In cup, a little bit of warm water. I got my wife's razor blade to shave her legs.
Her legs?
And,
okay, sure.
I think.
Oh, wow. No pull. It just dry, too. Oh, my goodness. This guy's a warrior.
That doesn't feel so good.
No shaving cream?
No, not for playoffs.
So he's knocking it right down to the wood. No shaving cream right here for a Stanley on 7th. Talk about 7th Street savages. This is a savage move right now. But hey,
what's the over under on blood here? What do you think?
Oh, I think there's a 70% chance you get some type of blood there. Oh, look, he's moving the big beak out of the way. Let's go playoff models for Stanley on 7th. I think we're going no sleep till Stanley. So as you're buying those Big Wood beers, grab an extra 4-pack. There's no need to go to bed early. You're going to stay up late, watch these games. 8:30 starts for sure the first 2 games. So make sure that
that's going to be.
You're well
caffeinated.
Be
electric down there.
Yeah, you're well caffeinated. Yeah, no sleep till Stanley. Is that the motto here on Stanley on 7th?
Well, the Wild did their official motto today. It's about winning, which is God bless you, Billy Guerin. Billy Guerin walked into the living room of the Minnesota Wild and was like, hey, what's that silver thing in the corner? What's that? The Stanley Cup. How come, the state of hockey? Why don't you talk about that? And I love that the organization is fully pot committed, fully pregnant with it's about winning. But I think for our knuckleheads, probably no sleep till Stanley, because it's going to be some late nights. And we went triple overtime last night here in Wichita Falls. And I've been filming this New Mexico team for a few years. I was exhausted by the end because I'm emotionally invested. I have no idea how I'm going to get through the playoffs with the Wild. I have no idea. I'm going to have to get hydrated. I'm going to have to get stretched out. It's stressful.
It can be stressful. It certainly can. So let's get into the interview with Cam Janssen. For those, well, I actually think you should just leave it like this because it looks like there's no rhyme or reason to where you swipe that razor. It's just like, let's take a chunk here, a chunk there.
Can we talk about Cam for a second before you start it?
Yeah.
So this dude is cool, man. He's like the Oakland A's in the 90s. Like he would have a little flavor saver here. Like he's Jason Giambi or
Jose Canseco.
I mean, he's a cool, like surfy dude. Like I want to hang out with him. What's his deal? He seems so awesome.
Oh yeah, he is.
Tell me more about him.
Well, he is awesome. He's one of a kind. I mean, I could tell you a couple of Cam Janssen stories. He's hardcore, and
tell me one. Yeah, tell us one.
So he first of all, he'd fight anybody, and I don't think he ever fought anybody his size or smaller. Only bigger guys, and he didn't wear shoulder pads, or he did, but there's nothing there. No t-shirt underneath. He'd stick handle a puck in the locker room every day in just his like spandex every morning, working on his hands and his skills. First time I saw him, he was taking slap shots against there was a cheeseburger on the wall. He was in St. Louis at this time. And
was it a picture of a cheeseburger? It
was a picture of a cheeseburger from like Burger King, and he's trying to smash the meat on the cheeseburger. And it was the meatiest move of any hockey player I've ever seen. Like just taking one-timers 5 feet away from the wall, trying to smash this burger on the half wall. I was dying laughing, but at the same time, I was slightly afraid of him. He ends up being my teammate in Jersey, my roommate on the road. But I've been with him. He's clogged toilets. He's wrecked hotel rooms. Does he do what you do for the Blues? Is he on TV or radio? He does radio. He hosts his own radio show and has a fantastic podcast. So every weekday morning, I think he's got a 3-hour a talk radio show that he does. Fantastic. He's entertaining. You can tell right away during the interview that he's good at it. But I think we're in Florida, and Cam likes to control the remote. And back in the day, we used to have roommates. Nowadays, you don't have roommates on the road. You used to have 10 years pro and 600 games to get your own room. Now every player has their own room. So Janny and I were roommates on the road, and he liked heavy metal music. and candy. So he'd go to the convenience store. He'd buy a bag of probably 6 candy bars, like whatchamacallits, Nerd Ropes. And you could
Nerd Ropes?
Yeah, like the weirdest.
$100,000?
He'd have the weirdest candy, but I think he liked those sugary kind of, like nerds and stuff.
Bottle
like
caps?
Yeah.
Maybe bottle caps?
But bigger, like he was more into it. Not like bottle caps. There's not enough of those.
Not bottle caps.
So he would sit on the bed and he'd put his headphones on, much like these podcast headphones, and he'd listen to the heaviest of metal of music on full tilt on his iPad. And I wouldn't be able to hear it, but he wanted to watch what he wanted to watch on the television too. And he had seniority at the time. So I just was like, yeah, sure. You can watch what you want, man. You got the remote. So then he'd slowly click the volume up and he'd be watching hardcore heavy metal, jamming out, eating Nerd Ropes on his bed. And then by the end of the night, I'd be trying to sleep and he'd have the TV on max volume so he could hear whatever it is on the TV through his headphones. And he'd just be in a zone, absolutely in a zone.
Would he ever throw the Nerd Rope around his shoulder like a snake, or did he ever, maybe he got the licorice rope, would he ever, just for convenience, would he ever set it over his neck?
Yeah, and he liked things balanced, so he'd take a bite from each side. Like he wouldn't take 2 bites from the right side. So he'd go one from each side. One time I walk in and he's sitting in there with the headphones on and the heavy metal music and the toilet's overflowing. The hotel room floor is ruined. He had clogged the toilet, didn't know it. It's overflowing. He's sitting in the bed, no clue. I get in, I'm like, hey, dude, what are you doing to the floor here? And he's like, oh my gosh, I got no idea. I think that was the playoffs when we were playing in Florida, 2012. We ended up having to get a new room. It was a huge mess, but he was, not the brightest of moments for him. But now he's in meetings, does the radio, fantastic job with the Blues, knows them in and out. So let's throw it to Cam Janssen. We get a series preview of what he thinks it's going to look like between the Wild and the Blues. St. Louis's finest, Cam Janssen. I had a chance to play with Cam Janssen. Over 336 games played in the NHL, 775 PIMs. I tell you what, you were, and I'm not just saying this because you're there or you're with us right now, but you were pound for pound the toughest, most impressive guy that I'd played with. And I played with some tough dudes too, right? Like, George Peros, Trevor Gillies. Now, Trevor Gillies is up there for me too, but man, you were probably the ballsiest dude I played with. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate you guys having me on. Yeah, a ballsy I'll take for sure. But yeah, being 5'11", I had to have a strategy in fights, right? Like I can't just go toe to toe with a guy because his reach is going to catch me, and the last thing you want to do is get buckled, and that always sets in the back of your head, and it sets you back a lot with anything you do when you really get corked. So I had to have a strategy. And I got confident, but I was pretty strong. I could grab on the guys. I had a big grip. Like my grip was great. So I just figured out how to take care of the big guys and be able to fight them without really getting my ass kicked. And then the other guys my size, I'm like, okay, let's do it. So, but yeah, it was a grind. Very stressful, by the way. It was very stressful. In the moment you want to show off in front of the fans and do this, and you want to be the guy. So it just like that in itself, kind of gave you, the confidence to do it. But I look back at it now, I'm like, God, I'm glad I'm just chilling and doing radio work and podcasts. And you probably know what I'm talking about, Ryan.
Yeah,
it was a grind one way or the other.
You and I had different experiences fighting, though. I've got to give you credit too for I don't know how you would do it, and was this a strategy of yours? You'd have the longest fights of anybody I'd ever played with either, and you got long arms. You're strong, like you said. I don't know how they would go 2 minutes without you dying from exhaustion.
Well, I was dying, and I almost had a heart attack a couple of times, but that was my style, though. Excuse me. Yeah, I had to be like that, and it's not like I was in unbelievable shape. I mean, I was, but I went out here and there, obviously. But I did boxing training, and that really helped my cardio. I would do that in the summertime in St. Louis. My dad took me when I was 16 years old, said, you got to go in there. And I met all the guys, very intimidating when you walk into like a MMA place. So I started doing boxing, and then we turned it into hockey fights. And that in itself, leading into the year, the training camp, I just had that kind of cardio. Plus, you just got to be crazy. Because usually when you get tired, guys will be like, oh, I'm done. But I always force myself to stay in it and make it a good one.
Well, I don't think you are crazy, but I think you made people think you were crazy, which is effective because then they're a little bit scared and on tilt. I don't think there's any doubt you had that. I don't know if Wild fans here will know this or not, but Cam Janssen and I were involved in probably the greatest fight of all time. The three of them at Madison Square Garden, Devils Rangers. Cam, one of my regrets is how fast my fight was over. Son of a bitch. Cam went for like 2 more minutes. My fight was done. The video's got like 6 more minutes. I was bummed. But what do you think about that, man? Like, did you know you were fighting that night? So I didn't know I was fighting because I had fought Dubinsky. If you recall, the Rangers come into our building. I had fought Dubinsky, hit him. I think he broke a bone in his face or something. Didn't play until that night. We see it on the lineup card that I'm facing off against him. I was like, there's 0 chance he's fighting me. He's probably got a bubble on. I had no idea. Did you know we were going?
No, well, we didn't. People always ask, did you guys set that up? No, we didn't. They just dressed. We dressed who we dressed, and they dressed who they dressed. And we're like, let's just do it. I remember talking to Bolts, like, I want to go Ruppy. And Bolts is like, okay, I'll go Prust. And then I asked Ruppy, and he goes, no, I'm not fighting you. Then I go over to Prusty, and I'm like, let's go. And then Bolts kind of went over. And Spickle comes in. Look, it just was one of those things. Like, we didn't set anything up. It just kind of organically happened, and we kind of all agreed on it. But at least your fight, dude, you went toe-to-toe with him. You went toe-to-toe. You caught him, and then you fell down, and he caught you with one. But at least Prusty didn't even let me hit him. Like, we barely even threw. I don't think I connected that hard with him. He didn't really connect with me. It just was long and drawn out. We tied each other up. And I was gassed at the end, but you were throwing bombs, dude.
But I love the visual after that in the penalty box. You and your shoulder pads, which weren't actually shoulder pads, like no t-shirt, no nothing underneath. It's just. And what were those shoulder pads? It looked like a blanket you had from when you were a toddler. Yeah, what are they?
Those old school. It was white Coopers, man. You know, remember those old school white Coopers that like the old school cats in the early '90s wore? They just sat there, but they were big enough so if I went to go hit a guy 100 miles an hour on a forecheck, they'd still protect me. But if I needed to get out and get loose, you know, I was able to do that. So, yeah, I never wore anything underneath either. And I always like take my jersey off in a penalty box and flex a little bit. Yeah, it is what it is. I still did it. Whatever.
That was the era of those light blue Bauer shirts.
Yeah.
Those things were so cool. Like if you're a pro, that's like the only people that had those.
Right.
The light blue. So, hey, Cam, you're the mayor of St. Louis. It's maybe you, Jon Hamm, and the girl from The Office, and and Nellie. Do you ever put a Band-Aid under one eye?
Yes.
Okay.
All the time.
Which eye is it?
My left one.
Okay.
I think that's okay.
Is that what Nellie does? Is he left eye?
He might be on the right cheek, so I like to be a little bit different just to kind of have my own thing going.
Deputy
but hey, Nellie
mayor.
had a house out where I grew up in Eureka, which is, again, like 40 miles out. He bought this like huge house, put a ton of money into it, and he'd go there and have parties. And it looked over this little ski resort my buddy owned. And so I'd see Nellie when I was in high school at the fireworks stand out in Eureka. And I remember me and my buddy's like, hey, buddy. He was with his crew. Who's the other dude that kind of had one hit and he kind of fell off? I don't
Cisco?
know. Murphy Lee. Anyway, remember Murphy Lee? He had like one hit. Like Nellie was the dude. But I remember seeing him at the the fireworks stand, and I go, hey, how you doing? Didn't say a word to me, completely ignored me, went and did his thing, didn't say anything to anybody, went on and did his thing. But now he's around, he does stuff. I think he's been to a couple of games here and there, but yeah, he had this house. Now it's abandoned. And now they're trying to he built this huge mansion and he kind of just let it go. Things went down, of course, who knows what happened to him, but it's still sitting up there like an eyesore. And I think somebody finally bought it for nothing, and they're going to redo it, which is going to be just a complete pain in the ass. So Nellie's kind of a part of that little area, but I think he's totally gone now.
How's Jon Hamm? Do people of St. Louis love him? Like, is he a hockey guy, or they do?
Oh, they love him. He is a hockey guy. Like, he's one of those actors, man, and there's a couple of them out there too, man, that just, they love sports. They kind of like don't care about what they're doing, which we look at them like, man, you're awesome on this show or whatever. And they're like, hey, I'm sick of that. Kind of like athletes over time. They get interested in other people doing cool stuff. So Jon Hamm's kind of in that category. And he talks to people like he knows your name. He really does know hockey. It's not like a fake thing at all. If you talk to him and you're sitting there having a couple cocktails, which he will with all the ex-players and stuff like that, like he'll hang out, always be at different events. If you ask him to do something, if he's in town, he'll do it. But he knows the game and he likes it, genuinely likes it. And it's kind of a really refreshing thing. He's just down to earth, and usually don't get that from the Hollywood type. it's like hit or miss with them. So he's one of the cool guys.
Yeah. Go ahead, John, if you got something.
Yeah, I'm curious. So we've been staring at each other for weeks that the Wild are going to play the Blues. And I'm curious from your side when and we'll get into what we think of the Blues looking from our side, but when you look at this year's Minnesota Wild, Billy G doing some serious things in the offseason. What do you see when you look at our squad as we are about to square off?
Skilled, tough, in your face. Marcus Foligno will put you on your ass. He'll score some goals. He'll stand in front of the net. He's going to be a pain in the ass to deal with. You got some big guys. You have a superstar. Unlike us, I'll be honest with you. The Blues have good players. You got a big boy on your team that could take over games. Not to mention you got the best goalie tandem going. You guys are ready to go. I love Billy G. Awesome guy. Came on our pod, dude. Just down to earth, cool. The players probably love him. Of course, Marc-Andre Fleury won a cup with him. And now he's like, hey, you want to come back here? What a great move. He's going all in. He might be jammed up next year with that cap situation going on. I like what he's doing. I can't wait for this matchup. It's going to be in your face, emotional. And you know what? Minnesota owes the Blues something. And, I'm a Blues through and through. It helps the city. We want them to go far in the playoffs. We want the revenue for this town. There's a lot more than just being a fan. There's a lot of business side of things that the Blues need to do good this year. They at least need to go in the second round. For you guys, the same damn thing. You're going all in. You got a big cap hit coming up. I like what Billy G did. But yeah, no, it's concerning. To go in your building, now I know you just lost to Arizona. It's hard to get up for those guys. It is what it is. But this is going to be a toe-to-toe battle, and I can't wait for it.
Do you think it's going to be bloody? Is it just going to be disgusting gladiator stuff?
I hope so. I mean, for the Blues' sake, you kind of want to slide through the first round if you're going to play a big dog like Colorado. Don't get me wrong. But for hockey's sake, for entertainment purposes, I want to be entertained. Fans want to be entertained. It's going to be, in my opinion, in your face, chirp, this, that. I just hope they let it go. Call whatever you need to call. If there's a scoring chance and somebody trips, call that. But if there's hitting going on, pushing and shoving after the whistle, break it up, let them go, whatever. But don't be calling penalties and slow down the pace. It's going to be fast-paced and mean, in my opinion. So, yeah, I can't wait, dude.
Well, what's crazy is I think the Blues have changed. They've gone from a big, heavy team to now they've got more skilled. It was the David Backes era where, they've got their leader, their captain, and he's going to punch you in your mouth. He's going to stand in front of the net, and that's what you're going to have to go through to. And Armstrong's been able to say goodbye to some of these guys that he's invested in a long time. Schwartz was a similar type of player, like a straight line, but still skilled, but kind of a harder player. Some of these marquee Blue players have gone out, and now there's these younger skill guys, Kirill, and you got Robert Thomas, and all of a sudden the Blues are less a huge, heavy, hard team, more a 3-4 line skilled, scoring 5-6 goals a game kind of team. How have they started the whole year like that? Are they on a heater right now, or is that something that they can sustain?
Well, I got to correct you, homeboy. If you look at the metrics, is it the metrics? I don't know how you put it.
Analytics, the fancy
analytics.
stats.
What? No, I'm saying the height and weight of the Blues, they're the biggest team in the NHL. If you add it all together.
Well, it's because they got Colton Parayko on the back end.
Well, look how big they are. Even you say Kirill and Thomas, Thomas is 215 pounds. Kyrou's 6'1", he's 210 pounds. They don't look that big, but they are. You got Torpchenko, you got that Buchnevich. Vladdy's 235. They're big. Now, are they as physical as a David Backes and Ryan Reeves and Uppy and Stevie Ott when they were doing their thing on that fourth line? Maybe not, but they are deep and they are pretty big. Even the defensemen are thick and pretty tall. So I don't know. I saw that the other day, that they're the heaviest, tallest team in the league. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. But then you kind of think about it. And you're like, okay, yeah. Even Logan Brown, even on the fourth line, there's some big boys. But it doesn't matter how big you are. Do you play big? Are you getting in, doing things, using your body, doing this, doing that? And they do. They're not crushing guys, although some guys do on that team. If you're going to try to hit Vladdy, he's going to reverse shoulder you. Ask Trent Frederick that the other night. Completely embarrass him. You can't bully these guys around. So they might not be as loud physically as maybe some of the other teams, but they're there.
And but how about the top end skill too? And the young guys like Robert Thomas, is he the real deal, or is he just having? And I think that you can ask the same question of a lot of the guys on the Wild, like Ryan Hartman, Freddie Gaudreau. Some of these guys, are they the real deal, or are they just having a solid year? Robert Thomas, what do you take on him?
Oh, dude, he's really good. His problem was like he didn't shoot enough, but he's so silky. Like he's very cerebral. He'll put it behind his legs, and like he knows where everybody's at. But he got hurt all the time. I mean, he's a Stanley Cup winner. He had a lot to do with that. This is not a fake season. He's just really good. Not to mention he's playing with two monsters, Buchnevich, which they stole from the Rangers.
That was
Sammy
a
Blais.
steal. That was
$4.5 million. He's got 30 goals. He hits. He's mean. Vladdy, of course, like, you know, what he's been through for the past couple of years. So you got those two guys on their wing. They both know how to pass. They both are underrated passers, and they can score goals. Both have great shots. And you got Robert Thomas coming like, do. What am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with it? He is so damn good. Even my dad, who listens to everything I do, you know, he's just always, he never like makes mistakes when he's been great. He's like, I think Robert Thomas is going to be a captain in the next couple of years. And I thought about that, and I kept watching him play. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, just watch him. He's always watch him in the face-off dot, talking to the refs, doing this, getting everything organized. Like he's become more mature. He's become more confident. And yeah, he's certainly the real deal. Just stay healthy. And he's been pretty good about that lately.
Who's the best go-to defender? Like, who do you trust the most on the back end? Like, I look at Colton Parayko. I think his numbers are his average time on ice is highest back there. I look at him and I say, okay, this might be a series where if the Wild are going to win, they've got to find a way to beat that guy.
And if the Blues are going to win, Colton Parayko has to be one of the best players on the ice pretty much every single night. Now, is he the best defenseman? No. It's Justin Falk. Justin Falk's been the most consistent defenseman all year long. Solid. No one talks about him. Scores some goals. Can't get around him. Hits. Open eye. He'll jump up. I'm telling you, he'll jump up and catch you with your head down. You won't even notice him. And all of a sudden, he'll come up and put his big butt right in your chest, and you're going to go down. He'll hit you. He clears the front of the net. He can skate the puck up the ice. He can walk the blue line. He can do power play, penalty kill, everything. Justin Falk has been the best defenseman for the Blues all year long. Yeah,
that's crazy. That was a steal too, right out of Carolina. And he is, you're right, when you're talking about size and stuff, Falk's one of those guys where you think he's just a power play defenseman, but he's actually built like a brick, you know what?
Yes.
Man, he is big and he's strong. No, I like that. But I think the series comes down to a battle between it's the Grief line, Eriksson, Ekfelino, and Greenway. They're the big line. And if they can get their matchup and they can get out there and win battles against a guy like Parayko or take advantage of a smaller Torrey Krug, that might be the difference for me. And at points that might be exactly what I'm just 100% dialed in on is how can they handle that huge line in their own zone? And I don't know if St. Louis can. And the hard part about playing the Minnesota Wild right now is they're a matchup nightmare. And that's why I think home ice is going to be such a huge thing in this series. Because if you can get that Ek line, they've given up 4 even strength goals all year long. You can't score on these guys. You can't do it. So if the Wild can get their matchup and shut down the Blues top line or whoever they decide they want to shut down, and then you've got Kaprizov and Fiala going toe-to-toe with whomever else, like the Wild all of a sudden become a very scary team to have to match up against.
Dude, I noticed that too. I say it all the time on my radio show. And like, you know, the Wild, do they get a lot of attention down here and stuff like, do the Blues and the Wild give a lot of attention anywhere in the NHL?
No.
Not really at all. That line we just said, with Greenway too, who's a big bad boy. Like I love, like might be one of my favorite lines going. Like I like how they could be mean, in your face, skilled, but you're not scoring on them. They're good in their own zone. Like they do the little things to get it out, and they'll get in your face. Man, I love Marcus Foligno. I love his daddy, by the way.
Yeah, Mike.
Coach. Oh my dude, he came up to me one time, Carts. Like I didn't know what the hell I was going to do after hockey, right? Like, I'm like, what do I have a ninth grade education. Like, I didn't save enough money. I'm like, what do I do? And I remember I was scoring a couple times here and there because of you helped me with that.
Yeah.
Pucks out of the zone. And I remember coming on the plane after MSG and I did something funny on the Jumbotron camera thing, whatever. And I thought I was being funny and goofy. He comes up to me on the plane in front of Lou. He grabs my hand when I'm walking by. He goes, "You're going to be something in the media after hockey." And no one's ever said that. Maybe people say, yeah, you might be on the radio. He just looked in my eyes and said that, and I never forgot it. And I was like, okay. And it just little things like that. He was always happy. He was always nice. He always brought energy. He never belittled you, but he'd tell you what you needed to do. Like, I like that family a lot, man. So there's a lot of love coming from me to that Minnesota Wild team. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, Marcus Flint, his dad, I've told this story too because I fought Marcus in Jersey and he caught me with the big one, split me. That's the only time my wires were disconnected. But his dad came back and was like giving me a hug in the room saying like, oh, why didn't you tell me you're going to fight Marcus? I'd have told you he's tough, like more looking out for me than his own son. But yeah, no, Mike was a fantastic guy. Since we're on the Devils, I have one question for you, and don't get mad at me. Do you believe in aliens?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely.
I know this. So I recall we had a conversation in the locker room one day, and we're talking about aliens and how you believe in them. And I asked because at one point if you thought you'd been abducted by them, because I thought maybe that they stole your ass. And I ran around the rink that whole day so scared because his wires touched, and I was going to get my ass beat for saying that.
You got no ass?
I mean,
he's got a nice ass. He's got a nice ass, but it stung him.
It's not, because I always. I like to peacock around the locker room with no shirt on. And look, now I can't do that because I'm just not there anymore. But you show off in the locker room. Like, I know it sounds vain and whatever, but that's just what we did. But as far as the alien, I don't want to freak people out. I look at it like, if you really want to crunch the numbers down, there should be something going on. And not to mention, if you look at some of these hardcore, you're watching some of the Air Force and these people, these pilots, these fighter jets, these military crafts, they're watching these different things go this way and that way. I don't want to sound like Ilya Brizgalov, don't get me wrong. I really kind of do my homework on it, and it is interesting. And do I feel like they're going to do something? I don't know. But I do think that there's like a lot of evidence now, and no one cares about it. So it just gets kind of seeped away. So, but yeah, I got to work on my ass. Thanks, Carts.
Hey, Cam, who are we going to hate at the end of this series? Who's if you got super emotionally invested Minnesota fans, we're really dialed into what Billy's building here. We haven't gone through the cup win like you guys did a few years back. Who are the guys we're just going to hate? We're going to go to bed screaming at them, and we're going to wake up screaming at them on the Blues.
I don't know if there's one particular guy that's that loud, right? That's going to do something. I think it's just going to be collectively. I know it's a weak answer, but if I look down the line, there might be a kid like this Russian kid, Toropchenko. He'll put you on your ass. He's a big kid. He's got some skill, goes 100 miles an hour, will hit you without sometimes when you go on a forecheck, some guys will come in real fast and they'll let up and do something. This kid goes, boom, hit the boards. Like, I know that kind of style. And maybe he'll miss a guy, but even if I missed a guy and kind of same thing he does, the defense was like, what the hell was that? Like, oh my God, if I got caught by that, it's going to set me back. So he might be, Braden Shin's going to crush guys. Yeah. He's a warrior. Awesome dude. His brother's cool. What a cool family that is. Nice guy. But man, he hits hard. You're going to be pissed at David Perron. He's going to hook, hack. No one's looking. He's going to whack. He's going to do this. He's going to stand in front of net. He's going to score on a power play. He always holds on the puck. Like, he's hard to knock off. Again, a great dude, but he's going to piss you off. There's going to be some guys. I hope they all do. I hope they're all mean. Wow. I hope all Minnesota's mean. I want a battle. I do. Unfortunately, it's the first round, which is kind of goofy. That's a different topic. But.
Yeah, I think to flip that coin, I think Delorier is going to be a handful. I think St. Louis is going to hate Delorier by the end of this. Yep. Ryan Hartman. Now, Delorier is one of those guys where I think he's going to hit you right in your face, and you're going to see it coming, and you're going to know it's coming. He's going to say, "I'm coming again." But then you got Ryan Hartman, who might slice your Achilles tendon. He might put a razor blade in his stick and then just keep slicing you without you knowing it. And eventually, by the end of it, everybody hates him, right? Like he's got that component to him. But I do think that. And actually, let's take 1 second and get into this. It sucks. I do believe that to be the best, you have to beat the best. And there is maybe this argument to where it's okay if you have to play the second and third best teams in the Western Conference in the first round because, hey, at least you guys are healthy, you're playing good hockey, and you're in your matchup, right? And you get it out of the way. So you've got your hardest matchups early on, and then when you're beat up and fatigued, it's maybe a little easier on you. I don't know. That's one school of thought. But the Central has the three best teams in the West right now. You've got the Avalanche, the Blues, and Minnesota. And however Minnesota and St. Louis shake out, it's 2 versus 3. And that sucks because the Wild are having one of the best years that they've ever had, and then they're going to have to play 2 or 3, right? Where it'd be nice if they were playing the 7th team right now, a wild card team, and they'd steamroll them, right? And that's their path. And you talked about the economics and how important sometimes sports is to the city, to the psyche, coming out of COVID, all this other stuff. That stuff matters. It's unfortunate. It's kind of shitty the way it's laid out right now. And then if you're Colorado, I think you're a little bit pissed too, because where they're going to play 1-8, if they win that series, the best that they should have to play is 4. But no, they're going to have to play potentially 2. So all of a sudden, 2's going to have to play 3. If 2 wins, 2 plays 1, right? Yeah. And that's given Colorado wins. But it's just shitty to have to come out of the Central right now in that spot. It's going to make for great rivalries and good hockey in the first 2 rounds, man. But in terms of all the other stuff that you talked about earlier and the economics, I don't know that I love the way that it's set up.
I know. It's like, especially with the COVID stuff. And it's like some of these mid-market teams, they need to make money.
Right.
They spin up to the cap. They got all this. They spend as much as they can, keep the fans happy, keep the rink, building the rink up, doing this, doing that. Always top-notch everywhere you fly, top-notch everything. It costs money. And I just kind of, not that they're struggling, not saying anything like that, but you just know, like, if you put this team together, I'm looking at Doug Armstrong, Tom Stillman, the ownership group of St. Louis, who we absolutely love, very close with. We skate with it. Like Tom Stillman skates with us in alumni skates. It's so funny. He's always on my line, which he's not very good, but I always hook him up anyway. And then you got the Cardinals, Billy DeWitt III. He's the president of the Cardinals. He comes out. He's on my right wing. He's better than Tom, but just how close everybody is. They hang out in the locker room. It's such a nice thing. But on the other hand, if I'm evaluating this team, it'd be nice to win a Stanley Cup. But you guys put so much time, all the trades, the money. You need to go to the second round at least.
Yes.
And if you don't, that was a bad season.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of money left on the table.
Hey, which of our goalies scares you more? Who do you not want to see in net game 1 if you had to pick one? They're both good.
I mean, look, they're both good. But of course you don't want to see the big boy Flower. I'm sorry. I know if he's there and he's in the right moment and he wants to do his thing and he's one of the coolest goalies in the league, by the way. And I'm not a big goalie guy, obviously. I never had to dealt with him that much because I only had 40 shots a year. But he always looks at the fans. He's smiling. He's just so unbelievable for the game. The way he plays, he's acrobatic. He's not just I'm going to take this angle and this angle. No, I'm going to do like a scorpion, like Marty used to do carts or something like that. But then he'll wink at the fans. Everybody loves him. He's cool looking, handsome, great hair. I don't know. I just want the most exciting teams going back and forth. I want to see Marc-Andre Fleury. Nothing against old boy. I want the loud superstar. And of course, it's going to be a pain in the ass to deal with, but you kind of want to see that for the greater good of the game, in my opinion.
I think you and everybody in the Minnesota sweater thinks the same. The fans want to see Marc-Andre Fleury. I don't think you go out and get the guy to have him sit on the bench and be a cheerleader, right? So I think he's playing. But you know what's interesting is this is going to be another storyline in the series because the goalie situation in St. Louis. Yeah, it's kind of flown under the radar in terms of probably media attention here in Minnesota. But Binnington comes in, wins the Stanley Cup, but now he's playing second fiddle. What's going on in the crease in St. Louis, and is Husso the guy?
Well, right now, Husso's going to be the guy. Binder's been playing great lately, except for last night. They played the Avs. He wasn't on. A couple of shots. He just kind of looked kind of goofy on. He just wasn't there all the way. You know how it is sometimes. But Husso's earned a spot. Now, we were thinking if Jordan Binnington, I was, or whatever, thinking if Jordan Binnington would be playing good at the end of the year, then it would be a little bit of a shorter leash for Husso in the first game. Husso's going to start the first game no matter what, in my opinion. He will. And then maybe if he's not very good, you'd put Benner in there. But I think that Husso at this point has done so well, though, he's going to get at least 2 games, even if he wasn't very good in the first one. I think he's at that point. But, look, a problem is when you have 2 bad goalies. There's at least one's getting going. Like you have a good goalie. Husso's been proving it all year long. Benner's proven that he can win in these kind of situations. So you start Husso, see what happens. And you know Benner's been pretty damn good lately. So you're pretty confident with a 1-2 punch like that. So it's going to be a battle of the goaltenders too, man. Like these guys,
I can't believe
it's going to be awesome.
Both teams are rotating goaltenders, and both are in a situation where I think it's like you both have 2 number 1 goaltenders, and you have to massage that situation. I haven't seen that a lot. I don't love it. I've said this on this podcast a lot before, where I think goaltenders are like quarterbacks. If you have 2, you really don't have one, meaning that you need one to just be above the other one and just ride that dude. That's Marty Brodeur, right? And we know him, and that's the guy everybody loves to have that. We'll see if this new situation, where I haven't seen a lot of success come from it or a lot of experience with it, where you're riding 2 guys and you're able to bounce back and forth and keep them both playing common hockey. I don't know how that's going to go, but both teams are going to be facing the headaches and the tough decisions in that spot. But before we let you go, I got a couple questions for you. Minnesota Wild fans, they travel well. St. Louis, good town. Give us a bar, a restaurant where the fans need to go. It's going to be good for them, safe place. They're not going to get beat up, but they're going to have a beer and a good time.
Well, actually, the rink itself has a lot of cool spots. Like nothing's overcrowded. Like there's different bars. They have food that's indigenous. Sorry if I could pronounce that, to St. Louis culture. But around downtown. Ballpark Village is what like the DeWitts, the Cardinals owner, built up. It's really nice. I love my Maggie O'Brien's. It's right down the road. You can take a little car service up to the rink, but it's probably best just to get to the stadium, get inside, find a cool little setup, walk around, do your thing, depending on where you're sitting. They got good food there and stuff like that. Do you want to be wandering around downtown? I don't know. I mean, no, you'll be okay. But there's a couple spots. I'd say Maggie O'Brien's. There's Wheelhouse. It depends on how old you are, what kind of scene you like. But again, they have enough stuff. Everything's updated at Enterprise Center. So I'd probably say just get down to the rink, go find a cool little setup at one of the cool little bars, try some St. Louis beer, eat some good food there, make your way to the seats, do your thing, yell at everybody. It doesn't matter.
So let me ask you too this now. Are you, and this is a thing on our podcast, you a beer guy, you a whiskey guy, you a wine guy? Like you have one, choose your spot.
Are you asking which one?
Yeah, like you choose one, like you having a beer, throwing darts, you having a glass of wine at a nice dinner, you having bourbon with a cigar.
It depends, dude. Like
you can do it all.
Drinking. I like my beer and I like my wine, and I like Bloody Marys and sake. And I can't do the whiskey thing. Last time I did that, I think I broke my foot right before Christmas. My wife almost divorced me. Ain't doing that again. But the beer, man, I'm a beer drinker, dude. Yeah, I'm a beer drinking son of a gun. I love my wine though, but I like my wine when Kate and we got the windows open, got a little fireplace going, whatever it is. We kick our feet up, watch a lovely movie. Drink our wine that way. I'm not going to drink wine during the day, drink beer all day. I'm a beer drinker, man. I'm from St. Louis.
Well, that's what I was going to say. St. Louis is a beer.
Heaven.
Yeah, St. Louis is a beer town, which is why I think I like St. Louis. And John, you're a beer guy.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I had one of these. I had a BLT in St. Louis at this place called like Crown Candy. I swear to God, this BLT was as big as your guy Parenko. I mean, It was amazing. Hey, I know you're a Blues guy to the core, but if you were writing on the grease board how to beat the Blues, you're giving us the cheat codes. What are the couple sentences? How do we beat the Blues? How do we actually have this season be a step forward here in Minnesota?
Well, they don't have that many flaws. I mean, like Nick Leddy kind of like, help kind of put everything together on that D core. The D were struggling for a bit there. I'd say get Colin Parayko and Justin Falk off their game. Like it's going to be tough to deal with the 4 lines they're going to roll at you because you could take care of Kyrou, but then Thomas got you. You could take care of this guy. Then Ryan O'Reilly and David Perron are going to get you. So like that's going to be tough. But if you go after Colin Parayko and you go after a Justin Falk, that would be, if those two are off their game, it's going to be a problem, in my opinion. I don't want to give you their secrets. Like, what the hell do I know? But I would say that would probably be it. It'd be tough to get like 3 lines off their game. There's going to be always a line that's going to get you. They're going to hem you in. But if the big boys on your team, Greenway, big boy Marcus, if they get on the forecheck and disrupt those 2 guys, that's going to it's going to totally affect them. Now, can you do that? I don't know. Those guys don't take many hits.
Well, let's put a nice bottle of vodka on this right here. Which Russian? Because the Minnesotans, we love our Russian, Kirill Kaprizov.
Yeah.
Tarasenko, he's not too bad of a player himself, but let's have a little side bet here. Which Russian has more points? If you're cool with it, I'll take Kirill Kaprizov. Maybe willing to give you a point or two. 1 point.
Yeah, I'm going to say Buchnevich.
You take Buchnevich?
Yeah, but you gotta give me a point.
All right, I'll give you a point. I'll give you a point.
Because Kipper, listen, you got a superstar. Again, the Blues they're not built that way. They have 4.5 to 7. They don't have the big superstar. They got a bunch of really good players. You got a superstar. So this is kind of a weird bet. And I know that you want to take my money, and I get what you're doing, Carter.
I wanted to go Russian versus Russian, Tarasenko versus Kaprizov, but yeah, man, no, I'm cool with that. I just actually think that there's going to be an angle there where they're kind of competing against one another to be the best
Russians
Russian
are competitive,
on the ice.
dude.
Yeah, the best
and
Russian
that's why, and that's why it's good to have multiple on your team, because you know how they are in the locker room. They'll go to the corner, they'll speak Russian, yell at each other, get each other pumped off, pumped up, compete with each other, and like usually the guys like, hey, speak English so we all know. Now you let them go, and they figure things out, so they're competitive with each other, and it works out. So. Who knows what's going to happen? I hope it's mean. I hope it's entertaining. We need to build up. We want Minnesota and St. Louis to be the big fun where everybody's watching us instead of
the marquee series.
Tampa kick Toronto's ass or something.
Right. Love that. All right, man. Hey, appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. Good series preview. Hey, if it gets good, Game 7, we might have to check in again or something. But until then, and by the way, I was going to say, I know how to swear in Russian too, thanks to our buddy Colby. He used to come back to the bench all the time, and you would know how he felt. It was suka balet.
I loved him, though. He was so nice to everybody. He was so funny in the locker room, down to earth. Hang out with you.
Oh, he'd buy you dinner, invite you out. He was a good dude, man. He was awesome.
Him. He's one of my favorites. Came on the pod. Ask him to come on the pod, dude. He'll come on.
Yeah, he's fantastic too. He's one of my favorites because he drove the G-Wagon too. It'd be 110 miles an hour, New Jersey. We'd have a 9:00 meeting. He'd show up at 8:58. It's like he wasn't late, but he wasn't early. He was the best.
But he wasn't a downer when he walked in the locker room. Like he was like uppity. Like he'll dance for you. Like he always, He hung out with all of us. Like, he'd take us. I don't know. I loved him, man.
He's like the devil's dandruff. He's an upper. He's always up, that guy, But
he's like an Adderall.
Right, exactly. All right, buddy. Hey, good luck to the Blues. It's going to be a great series. Appreciate your time, my man.
Nice to meet you.
Dude.
Let's
cool cars.
Show us where we can find you, too, because you got your podcast. It's fantastic. Great listen. Plug it quick.
Cam and Strick Pod. It's on everything, Apple and all that. Find us on social media. Type it in. Type my name in. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. We all follow each other. We'll entertain you. You know how it goes. We're all in this together. Like, we all want to build up all our stuff, man. Everybody loves a different content from everybody else. So just check everything out. People have a lot of time. Put your phone in your pocket and put the podcast on. And get on with your day. Yeah, Cam and Strick Pod. That's a big podcast too. That covers everything, not just the St. Louis Blues. It's a good listen, man. You guys do a great job. So give that a follow. Cam and Strick Pod. You guys do great. Thanks again, man. See you, dudes. Be cool, man. See you, Carts. I'll see you in St. Louis, baby. All right, later. Thanks, Cam.
That was Cam Janssen, just a legend. It's so funny, Ryan, that you used to have NHL characters, like Billy would say, with nerds ropes around their neck and a lagoon in the hotel room. Now we got kids playing video games with guys on other teams in their hotel room. Right. I miss these characters. What was your favorite part of the chat with Big Cam? Well, I mean, how can I not say my favorite part is that he was pretty honest in what he thought we would have to do to beat the St. Louis Blues, and that's kind of make sure that Parayko and Justin Falk have quiet series. I think that illustrates how important they are. I love the matchup. If the Grief line is at full strength, big body versus big body, I think Parayko is like 6'7". But if you can neutralize that guy, and I do think he'll turn the puck over, watching clips lately, he will turn it over. But at the same time, he's hard to get
he's hard to get into the scoring area against because he's just so big and long and strong. And but those guys, 6'6" on Greenway, Foligno's a monster. He battles to no end. But you get those guys out there, push those dudes around. I think that's the series right there. If they can find a way to be net positive versus Colton Parayko and Justin Falk, that's it. What are you feeling?
Well, I'm curious. We got this information now. We got the playbook on how to beat the Blues. Should we keep that close to our vest, or should we maybe find a way to pass that on?
So are you saying we should maybe just direct message like Dean Evison and send our podcast right to his inbox?
I'm just saying we're team players. I guess he could go back and listen to previous podcasts and try to either hurt Zuccarello or Brodin, but I don't think he's going to listen to our podcast. He's a busy guy. He's probably eating fish tacos and longboarding or whatever you do when you're as cool as Cam Janssen. But I think it's good so basically no depth on defense. If you can kill these two guys, if you can bounce them off the back wall enough times that they ring that Navy SEAL bell, they put that white flag up, it goes bye-bye Blues, go back to your shitty Hard Rock Cafe. What is that what St. Louis has now? They have an arch and like a Hard Rock Cafe and Nelly. I mean, seriously.
And basically the other great part was Cam Janssen said, well, just don't visit those spots. Go right to the rink, park inside, pay them. Don't explore. It's just get to the rink and stay there. That was hilarious too.
Note to Wild fans. I mean, he's like, no, you could go. Yeah, you could go downtown. He had the one bar he kept saying. He's like, or you could just go to the rink. It's super safe there. Like they have food there. Maybe that's a better spot. Like just go right to the rink. Yeah. I don't think if you're like rolling in from Chaskatchan to St. Louis, like with your Wild sweater on, I think maybe you just head right to the rink from what the sounds of that was. Because Cam's a big boy. I think Cam can go a lot of places. I don't know that Wild fans should.
I agree with you. I also found it really interesting. I wanted to go, we put the nice bottle of vodka on it, Kirill Kaprizov versus their Russian. I was assuming it was going to be Tarasenko, and he says, no, I'll take Buchnevich. So, and I looked at the numbers from that guy. They are pretty stellar, 75 points. But, yeah, he's had a sneaky good year, and good thing we talked to Cam. I don't know that my radar would have fully been on Buchnevich. It would have been like, okay, Tarasenko's a guy that we got to keep quiet. But they can... St. Louis can score goals, and they've got a couple of lines that can do it for sure. But I think especially after last night's game, Kirill Kaprizov circling the wagons, he's feeling it again. He's back. That was sweet.
He's on the Coachella Ferris wheel. He's circling the wagons, and he's got us covered like another guy I know.
Yeah, speaking of circling the wagons, if you do have a new wagon, you bought one and you want to take care of it, make sure it's covered, insured. We have got the guy for you. It's Andy Hedlund, thehockeyagent.com. He's a hockey player, hockey coach, hockey dad. He does it all. Played some professional hockey in the American League, Germany. Now he's an insurance guy, the best there is out there. You get a hold of him, 763-537-4949. Again, whether your rates have gone up, you got yourself a new wagon, you want to make sure it stays shiny, new, and protected, give this guy a call or visit thehockeyagent.com. That's Andy Hedlund, 763-537-4949. I like that number 4 right now, Kinger, because I think the Wild win 4 games this series to the St. Louis Blues 2. I got them in 6. What do you got?
Yeah, I think we're going to win. And it's not going to be as dramatic as people think. I got us in 6 as well. Can we go around the horn really quick? Because this will come up before the thing starts. So playoff series. I think this is the best playoff series of the first round.
Yeah.
Correct?
I think there's no doubt just based on the fact that St. Louis and Minnesota are like 2-3 or 2-4 in the West. So, yeah, like even on paper, it's the best standing.
Boston, Carolina. Toronto is going to get smoked by Tampa. I think Edmonton, LA, who cares? Yeah, I don't know. The other one I like is New York, Pitt. That's what we call a marquee matchup. Sid the Kid, revitalized Ranger team. I think that's my Eastern Conference series. I watch them all, but I'm pretty I like this Pitt, New York, and I love myself some St. Louis Wild.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I loosely watch the East during the playoffs, but I'll solely be focused on the West, and I will consume like all things West. It's almost like the East is a different league, different country. They can go do their thing. We'll see you in the finals if we get there. However you get there, good for you. But the West is where I spend all my time and I'll have all my focus. But so what do you got for the Wild right now?
I got us in 6 winning.
Oh, so we're on the same page here.
Yeah. I don't think it goes to 7. And I think we're going to just kind of. I do think Marcus is okay. I'm going with what was the sports psychologist's name?
Allie.
I'm going full Allie. Like, he's fine. Like, I don't know if sports psychology, can I go over his knee and go like Miyagi?
I think there is a way to be that, and a sports psychologist can help you differentiate between playing hurt and playing injured. There's a difference in how to block out some of that fear or some of the instability that you might feel. I don't know how healthy that is, but I think that there is a way that a sports psychologist can help you.
Good. I hope she does that. I'm just so excited. Monday night, 8:30. I mean, people are going to be tuned up. Holy. The other thing, playoffs, by the way, like don't bring a kid to a playoff game. Seriously, Don't bring your kid to the playoffs. That's not an appropriate environment. This is serious stuff. We're in the foxhole. There should not be anyone under the age of 18 in the building at Xcel Energy Center. I don't care.
Just in case the 7th Street Savages come out that night. Things could get bloody.
Yeah, why are you bringing a child? This is not Epcot Center. Like, come on. This is the playoffs. Kids stay home.
All right, that's your series preview. St. Louis Blues, Minnesota Wild. Wild take it in 6. Write it down. We're here.
Till it's here.